how you doing? My name is Rudkowski of We Are Change, and I wanted to thank each and every amazing, beautiful human being who came out here today. Thank you so much. Thank you to the organizers and the speakers. It's truly an honor and a privilege to be here, so thank you so much for everything. And I got 20 minutes to talk, so what best way to spend that than sharing a personal story of mine. And a couple days ago, I remember seeing this Buddhist saying, and it said, holding on to anger and hate is like drinking poison and expecting that somebody else to die. That saying struck me, and it made me think about the start of We Are Change about 6 years ago. Now, I haven't really shared this story publicly with anybody. Nobody really knows about all the details about everything that happened because it's a very personal, it's a very private story, but I actually learned a lot from it, and hopefully I could share this story with you today. When I was 16, 17, I started to get into activism, and I joined a local group in New York City called New York 9/11 Truth. I worked my way up, I went to every action, I went to every meeting, and I busted my hump. And slowly and surely, we were building a core group of people in New York City who were willing to fight and stand up for 9/11 Truth. Now, there was this weird guy who was also a part of it, who was also an organizer, and I later became an organizer. And through hard work, we built up a very good group in New York City. And then I started networking, collaborating, and that's when I met the kids who made Loose Change. And through them I met Immortal Technique, and then I met Alex Jones. And coming up on the 5th year anniversary of 9/11 in 2006, I remember it becoming a critical point where we needed to do something. And I called on my contacts, and I called everybody, and from Alex Jones to Immortal Technique to the premiere of Loose Change, all of them came out and fully supported standing up fully for a new investigation on 9/11. And we decided to do an event and some actions. Now, this weird guy that I mentioned before, he really didn't like everything that I was doing. He didn't want Immortal Technique there because he cursed. He didn't want Alex Jones there because he was divisive. He didn't want Loose Change because he said they didn't have their facts straight. But I still stuck to my guns, and the group behind me supported it and went fully with it. Now, what we used to do is go to Ground Zero every single Saturday of the year, and we used to stand there right after 9/11 with a big sign that said 9/11 was an inside job. And we got spit on, we had food thrown at us, we were threatened, we were harassed, and it wasn't a very encouraging time. There was about 10 of us. But for this 5th anniversary, I called everybody up, and everybody fully came out in support, except this weird guy. Keep this weird guy in mind. He's going to come back in the story, and I'll explain everything fully. He didn't want this to happen, obviously, because he thought it was going to be a bloodbath, and he thought it was going to be unproductive to have a lot of people down at Ground Zero, especially during the anniversary. Something still stood with me, and we still went forward with it. And on the 5th anniversary of 9/11, we actually had over 2,000 people that came out of nowhere, organically. And I know this because we gave out 2,000 t-shirts that said Investigate 9/11, and every single one of them went. We gave out 50,000 DVDs. We gave out over a 250,000 of flyers that day. And it was one of the best moments in my life, being able to see family members, rescue workers, and all the people from the movement standing together in solidarity for the truth behind 9/11. Now, of course, the mainstream media never mentioned it, never talked about it, never even had a wide shot of Ground Zero that day because of all the people there who came out in support for a new investigation and against the lies that that current administration was telling. Everything was going great. Everything was finally coming into place, and we were finally building a mass movement of people with broad support. And it was really feeling like all the work that we put in was finally paying off. Then this weird guy comes back to me again, and he tries to tell me that he doesn't like that I'm talking about the Federal Reserve or the CFR or the Bilderberg Group, and he asks me to stop. Now, for the few people who know me here, if you tell me not to do something, you know I'm not going to do it, especially when it comes to freedom of speech. It's like, if you tell me not to tell the truth, it's not going to happen. You have better luck eating a steak through a straw than you have shutting me up. It's not going to happen. And everything was finally coming into place. And then in January of 2007, out of nowhere, this weird guy, which I later found out was a part of a secret occult religion, it's crazy, I know. This weird guy, just out of nowhere, takes everything away. He takes away the website, he deletes everything I ever did, takes away the mailing list, which had 40,000 people, takes away the bank account, takes away the DVD duplicators, takes away everything the organization had, and he posted on his website that I was a cop. I was 20 years old at the time. You at least need to be 21 to be a cop in New York City. And I remember feeling defeated. But even though we didn't have the website or the email list or the DVDs or the flyers, we still had one thing left, and it was a banner. And I always held close to that banner because we always had it every Saturday. It was a dirty banner, it was a disgusting banner, it had spit, food, even blood on it, but it was our banner and we were proud of it. And one of the people that was holding that banner next to me was my friend, who I started to get to know and work with a new organization that we were going to build. And my friend was one brave, intelligent, cunning son of a gun who was just an amazing, powerful figure in my life. I still remember whenever we had actions, we always would find out that cops with M16s and full military armor were standing by the New York Stock Exchange. And whenever we heard about this, we decided if the NYPD is going to be there installing fear, we have to be there to show them that there's nothing to be afraid of with our banner, and we have to stand right in front of them. And I looked around the group and I asked, who would be willing to actually stand with me and do this? Every member except that one friend said yes. Everybody shook their head in fear and said no. And we did that. We went out to the cops. They had full military armor on. They had a big military truck. They had M16s. And we just decided to stand right in front of them with a big banner declaring 9/11 was an inside job. These cops flipped out, started running around like chickens with their heads cut off. And they literally just jumped on us and they told us, you have to leave, you can't get out of here, we're going to arrest you, get out of here now. And we stood up there and said no. And my friend stood up there and said no, and we made a stand. It even came to a point where the cops with the automatic machine guns were taking their safety off in front of me and just clicking it back and forth to try to intimidate me. But it didn't intimidate my friend, and therefore it didn't intimidate me. There was another time that Pat Dawson of CBS came down to Ground Zero, and he decided to do a live shot about 30 feet away from our banner. And right before he went live, I looked at everybody in the group, and my friend, that I keep mentioning, looked at me, and we just looked at each other and we knew what was going to happen. He got the video camera, I got the big banner, and we went right behind Pat Dawson as he was giving his live broadcast with the 9/11 was an inside job banner, and we slowly kept moving it back and forth so it could be right in that shot. Pat Dawson loses his composure on air, finally gets off the air, he flips out and he goes towards my friend and he says, how dare you? You have no respect for the family members. How dare you even do this? You're a despicable human being. My friend answers back, well, actually, my dad died on 9/11. He was a firefighter. You're the one who's despicable. You're the one who's lying about what really happened here, and that's why we have to do what we did. And Pat Dawson automatically, his only response was, and he couldn't say anything. And then I ran towards there, and I was like, yeah, damn right, you better be ashamed of yourself. But what happened was, in that 1 week, in between that weird guy taking everything away that I worked so hard for with other people for 3-4 years, that same week everything was taken away. My friend actually passed away because of a horrible accident, and he died. I still remember hearing the news as I was on the bus to school, and I remember hearing the news and not wanting to believe it. And still remember just leaving the bus and just collapsing on my knees. And it was one of the worst feelings that I ever experienced in my life. From there, it got really hard where I couldn't eat. I looked at food, I wanted to puke even though I was hungry. I wanted to go to sleep, I couldn't because of the anxiety. I wanted to keep going to school, but I couldn't because that bus ride to that school reminded me every time of getting that news. And I felt like I lost everything. Everything I worked hard for. My friend who I talked about rebuilding and starting a new organization with is gone. And I felt lost. As this is all going on, I still keep calling that weird guy, asking him to, I told him, keep the money, keep everything. We just want the banner. We just want another banner. We just want the flyers. We just want to keep doing the activism. And he never picked up his phone, and he never answered any of us. He just dropped everything. We still started coming out there with the banner without any flyers. We stood there without anything to give out, but we stood there because it was important to us and it was important to him. And as this is all happening, I was just broken. I was gone. I was not doing anything but just sitting in my room. And I felt like giving up, and I did give up. At that point in time, I said, enough's enough, I'm quitting. I'm not doing this anymore. And I gave up. I just started crying and just sitting in my room because I really felt like I had nothing. And then for some reason, a couple days later, decided to call the weird guy again. This time I feel different. I called him. I was like, listen, I'm not going to say it. You keep everything. Before I get into that,
how you doing?
A reason I got into video was because me and my friend, before he passed away, we started shooting videos of Pat Dawson, of the cops on M16s, of everything that ever happened to us, and interviews and the stories about his fathers. And I started to collect all these videos, and that's what made me start working with producing and creating videos. That was the only reason that I got into this. I collected all these videos. It was extremely difficult to go through them. And when I finally did, I decided to have a memorial for my friend who passed away. And I booked a venue through one of the guys that worked with me and the weird guy. Booked the venue 2 weeks in advance, paid for everything, had a big venue. It was perfect. Invited all the friends, invited all the family members. A day before the memorial, the weird guy talked to the venue guy and told him to cancel the event. And the venue guy called me and said, I'm sorry, you can't have memorial for your friend that you promoted for 2 weeks. And that got me angrier than you could ever believe, than I ever was in my life, actually. I didn't cancel the memorial. I showed up to the venue, and there was 4 people sitting in this huge venue, and they were having their meeting that they reserved, supposedly. Talked to them nicely, and they went to a pizzeria, had their meeting there. Then I went to the venue owner, and I'm not going to tell you what I told him, but the memorial was still scheduled and it still went on. The crazy part about everything is, as the memorial's going on, as I'm playing videos of me and my friend, as I'm giving a eulogy to my friend, that weird guy comes in. And that one banner that we had that was left of everything we worked hard for, he takes it away and he steals it during the memorial. That's when I decided to call him up. And that's when I told him, you know what? You keep the website, you keep the banner, you keep the flyers, you keep everything. You're the one who has to live with yourself. But just remember this, because of what you did, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to create something 200 times bigger than what you could even imagine. And no one's even going to even know who you are because of the work out there. Yeah! I was bluffing. I was lying through my teeth. I didn't believe a word of that. I don't know why I said that. And I really was. At that time, I didn't believe a word of that. And I went back in my room and I just stayed there for days and still just going through misery. And one random day, I decided to just walk around the house. And there was a Polish newspaper. Now, I'm Polish, my family's Polish, but I can't even read Polish. But for some reason, I decided to look into this Polish newspaper. And I just kept flipping the pages, even though I couldn't read any of it, I just kept flipping it. And then out of nowhere, there's this big advertisement that says, Zbigniew Brzezinski's doing a talk. Former presidential advisor is going to give his tips and pointers about politics and government at 8 p.m. I looked at my watch and it was 7 p.m. And as soon as I saw this event, my heart stopped. And my mind's racing and telling me, no, Luke, stop. You gave up. Just give up. Just stop. It's already too late. It takes an hour and a half to get there. Just forget about it. Don't worry about it. Go back in your room. My gut, on the other hand, was like, you know what you got to do. But my mind at the same time is like, just forget about it. Just go ahead, sit down, it doesn't matter, forget it, you gave up, it's fine. I go back in my room, and right before I'm about to sit down and start crying again, something just snapped within me. I don't know what it was. But I changed like Superman into my $2 Salvation Army suit. And I got my old shoes that were dusted up, that were dress shoes, and I ran for the train station. And sitting on the train, I was just like, what am I going to do? This is Zbigniew Brzezinski. He's a presidential advisor. He's part of the CFR, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group. He secretly wheels and deals with the most powerful people in the world for his own personal benefit. What can I even do? What can even I say? But as that was going through my head, the stopover was already there, and I just ran out of the train station. And I was already 45 minutes late. The talk was halfway through. And I go to the box office. And I'm like, 1 ticket. And the lady says to me, wow, you actually just sold out this venue. This is the last ticket we have. And the usher brought me in. And she sat me all the way in the back. And I'm already halfway through this talk. I'm sitting there, I'm nervous, I'm shaking. I'm literally shaking. I'm just trying to think of a question, trying to think of something I could do, something I could say. Luckily, I had a video camera that I borrowed from my friend. I had it with me, and the Q&A starts. And the first question is asked when somebody raises their hand, and I didn't raise my hand. I'm sitting there, I'm hyperventilating, I can't breathe. And trying to think, with all the horrible things this man has done, what can I do? And I already had a question, and I was doubting myself, and I said, I can't do this. I'm just gonna sit here, I'm gonna be quiet, everything's gonna be fine. Second question comes, I don't raise my hand. I had my question ready, and I'm just sitting there nervous, scared out of my mind, shaking, hyperventilating. And then I thought of my friend who couldn't be there because he wasn't alive anymore. And I raised my hand as high as I could. For some reason, the moderator goes all the way in the back and he picks me. And he regretted that minutes afterwards. Finally stand up, and I had a piece of paper that was just as long as this. This is the exact question that I had planned. And as soon as I stand up, it falls down. And I have my camera here, and I have finally the microphone. And I just went with it. And I mentioned all the time, Zbigniew Brzezinski has actually talked about false flag terrorism. And it was a long-winded question. I don't know how I got that out, but I did. And I finally asked him, how are we supposed to know when you know false flags are happening, when you know false flags are happening, how were we to know that you, David Rockefeller, and the Bilderberg Group weren't responsible for 9/11 to create a new world order? The room is packed with hundreds of people. As soon as I asked that question, the whole room, all the air in the room just left. Everybody just, and then the boos started coming. And then I see the moderator on stage. He's already selecting the fourth question. And I'm like, I did not just go through all this just to be ignored. And I said, answer the damn question. And he wouldn't. So I kept going. And for some reason, I don't know why, but I just went off on a tirade. And I was like, answer the damn question. You New World Order, CFR, scum. You are scum, sir. Answer the damn question. The whole room erupted in boos. And there was this little old lady, cute grandmother that you can imagine in fairy tales. She turns around. She was sitting right in front of me. She turns around, tilts her head at me, and she's like, "You're scum." And I just automatically just scared the crap out of me. And then Zbigniew Brzezinski told me, "Shut up and sit down." And I said, "Answer the question, and I will." And I did. I sat down, and as he's trying to answer the question, the event organizer comes up to my right side, and he tells me, "Stop filming. You can't film. Get that camera out of here." I was like, "I'm press. I have every right to film. What are you talking about?" And he goes back, and he's like, no, you have no right. I was like, "I have every right. Stop disrupting this event." He looks back at me with this look of dismay, and he's like, "We're gonna have you kicked out of here. I hope you enjoyed it." And he just walks back. I'm still sitting there shaking from everything that just happened. And out of nowhere, these huge security guards, which I thought were Secret Service, they weren't, but these huge security guards, 6 foot, 300 pound, come up from behind me. And as soon as I know it, they have my left hand, and then they have my right hand. And then I look down and my feet are dangling. This is the first time I ever did anything like this. I'm sitting there, I'm like, I just had Secret Service dragging me out of this event. What the hell did I get myself into? What the hell are they gonna do to me? I was scared out of my mind, and I'm like, you know, if they're gonna drag me away, they're gonna have to do it when I'm kicking and screaming. And again, I was like, "Brzezinski, 9/11 is an inside job. You're responsible for it. You created Al-Qaeda in 1979. You are New World Order scum." It's important. Look this up, people. do your research. You can laugh now, but this is important. Now I'm already by the exit door with these huge security guards on me. And this lady starts running up to me. She's like, take his tape, take the tape, take the tape, take the tape. And she starts hitting my camera. So I'm sitting there, and I got two big security guards holding me. I got this lady saying how she wants to get rid of the evidence of exactly what just happened. And again, I never ever did this in my life. I'm thinking the worst. I'm thinking they're going to put me in some FEMA camp. I'm thinking, like, what the hell did I get myself into? I'm here, they're going to destroy the evidence. If they're going to destroy the evidence, what else are they going to do to me? And back then, I was in a lot better shape than I am now. I used to actually work out every day, and I used to actually run Coney Island Beach in the thick sand just to work out my legs. And then, just being in that position, and she just turned off the camera, I just knew I had no other option but just to duck down, twist, and run as fast as I could. And I did. And I ducked down, twisted, started running, looked back, and the two security guards started falling on each other and their heads hit together like it was a cartoon movie. I started running for my life because literally I was so afraid. I was so petrified, and I started booking it. I finally looked back right before I'm about to cut the corner, and I see the security guards, and now they look a lot fatter than they did before. And I start laughing as I'm running. And I started running my butt off, and I ran 2 blocks down, 1 block right, another block down, 4 blocks left, and finally I got tired. And I looked, and I turned the camera back on me, and I said, "Yeah, Brzezinski, you got yours." And after the camera was off, I remember just dancing, just laughing my butt off, and then crying, not out of sadness, but out of happiness, that I was actually able to do something and get away with it. Now, looking back at it, I'm not proud of the question I asked. I could have phrased it better. I'm not proud of how I behaved. I'm not proud of the video editing because it was horrible. Looking back at it, it was really, really terrible. I don't know how people watched it, but they did. But one thing I'm proud of is turning one of the worst moments in my life into the best moments. And from there, I never looked back. From there, a week later, I was sitting outside David Rockefeller's house waiting for him to come out. 2 weeks after that, we hit the campaign trail with Rudolph Giuliani on his birthday when he declared his candidacy for the 2008 elections. And we confronted him there, and we made national news. And then it was John Edwards, and it was the president of Mexico, and then it was John Kerry, and on and on and on, and we never ever stopped, and we're still doing it today, and we're not going to stop doing it. So if you could take one thing from my story, the one thing that I took from it is that never, ever let your hatred, your anger, your negative emotions get in the way of your true potential. Leave that stuff behind, because right in front of you, there's endless potential. Thank you so much for listening.